Hello and welcome to Legalese. My name is Vincent Perryman and I am a local attorney with the law offices of J. Vincent Perryman. Each month, Legalese focuses on a wide range of legal issues and topics. Today's show covers homeowners associations. With us now is attorney Wayne Mink of Dinkelspiel, Rasmussen and Mink. Wayne, thanks for being with us today. You know, when people, the little nugget of real estate law that nobody ever really addresses is the homeowner associations and all. You know, you get these first-time buyers and they purchase their house and they're like, I'm going to do whatever I want with my house, and then they find out there's a homeowners association. So I guess the best place to start is what is a homeowners association and where does it get its authority from?
That's a great question. Used to be in Tennessee, most property was sold without encumbrances that controlled what you could and couldn't do with your property. You might have a volunteer association that had a telephone book so you could get a nanny to babysit your kids at a certain point in time. Over time, it's developed that homeowners associations, which are creatures of, which are corporate creatures, they're chartered with the state, have come into play. In other states, there are formal homeowners association acts which govern how residential development is made. There is none in Tennessee, but what the homeowners association has done is stepped in to take care of common areas that are open to everyone in a residential development. So let's say you buy into a new development that has a clubhouse or a pool or an entrance sign or private roads. Something has to be in place to maintain, repair, and replace those common amenities. And it's the homeowners association which steps in and does that. There's also a subset of homeowners associations called condominium associations. Condominiums are, they've been around Shelby County for a long time, but they've become much more prevalent in the market. And a condominium is not like a single-family home. What you own in a condominium is not the entire structure. You actually own a three-dimensional space which is defined by a piece of paper. And your rights and relationships with the other people that also own condominiums is defined by that piece of paper. Currently in Tennessee there is a Condominium Act. It went into place in January of 2009. That superseded the Tennessee Horizontal Property Act, which was around the 1970s originally. Condominiums are governed now by master deeds if they're an older development, or newer developments by a declaration of condominium. Homeowners associations are governed by what's called a Declaration of Covenants, Conditions, and Restrictions. And that sets forth your relationship with your neighbors, what you can and can't do with your property.
Okay, well, yeah, and that's the whole thing is I think a lot of people don't understand. They're like, well, I never agreed to this. I never signed it. So that's all a function of the deed, right?
Yes and no. When people buy property, they go to a closing where, in theory, their closing attorney walks them through all the legal documents that relate to the property that they're buying. For example, if it's a platted subdivision, they should look at the plat. If there's covenants, conditions, and restrictions, they should be discussed with the homeowners. What these documents do is when the original development is made, the developer comes in and he subdivides the property or he creates the condominium, they record this document in the registrar's office of Shelby County, Tennessee. The current registrar is Tom Leatherwood. He does a very good job, in my opinion. He has a website available online, and you can get any of these documents available free of charge on the internet. Once this document is recorded, it runs with the land, and what that means is that until there is a legal change in the status of that document, it's there ad infinitum. It's there forever. And when someone buys a piece of property that's burdened by that, that's covered in that document, then they take it subject to the provisions of that agreement. So in theory, they may never have formally agreed to it, but by accepting a deed to that property, they are deemed to have agreed to its terms and conditions, whether they're aware of them or not. And this is one of the problems we have in Tennessee, is that other states that do have acts dealing with homeowners associations will provide for a 3-day window. This is what happens in Virginia, that when you buy a property, the real estate agent is supposed to provide you with any homeowners documents. You then have a 3-day window to decide whether you want to buy that property based upon what's in those documents. In Tennessee, there is no such act. There's no such law, and consequently, what happens is if you have a good closing attorney, this gets sprung on you at closing, and at that point in time, it's relatively too late to do anything about it. That's something that we probably need to address in this state.
Okay. Yeah, so basically what it would be is it's as if you're on notice because it's been filed in a place of public record.
That's correct.
Okay. And then with the you said these are corporate entities. How are they run exactly?
A homeowners association is a Tennessee nonprofit corporation, and by that I don't mean that your assessments to it are tax deductible. That's a federal issue, not a state. What it means is that there's no stock in the corporation. So what it is an association of members, and you're a member by ownership of a lot or a condominium unit that's governed by that association. So when you buy a house that's governed by a homeowners association, or you buy a condominium which is governed by a condominium association, you're automatically a member of that association. You're a member of that nonprofit corporation. That nonprofit corporation is governed by a board of directors, and depending upon what the bylaws for the corporation state, which those bylaws should be attached to the covenants, conditions, restrictions of the master deed, those elections are usually on an annual basis. Most often the directors last for about a year. Some have 2 or 3 years terms or staggered terms to provide some corporate continuity. And what happens is there's an annual meeting each year where all the members are in theory supposed to meet, discuss the issues of the association, elect a board, and then the board handles the day-to-day operations of that development. The people that are on the board don't get paid for it. It's a purely voluntary job. So in a lot of instances, what they do is they hire a management company, which is a for-profit entity, to manage the day-to-day operations, to make sure that the grass gets cut, that the wall gets fixed when it's broken, that any leaks in a pool house are fixed, or that the pool is opened on time. And there are management companies in Shelby County that do address that.
Okay. Now, when you were saying that there's, you're a member, does that mean that it's one vote per property, or does it vary as to the size of the lot?
That's a good question. In a single-family development, and by that I mean where you have a traditional home, a subdivision tract where you have separate houses, you're going to have one vote per lot. In a condominium unit, it's going to be different. It's going to depend upon the master deed. In some instances, it'll be one vote per unit. In more instances, in a condominium development, it's going to be based upon the square footage of your unit over the total square footage. So you may own one unit, but you may have 1.6 votes based upon the percentage of your ownership of in the entire development.
Okay. When we return, we'll continue our discussion about homeowners associations. Please stay with us.